I did not expect part 1.5 to be better than part 1, and I was right, it wasn't. Although it was better than I originally thought it was going to be. Part 1 spanned over 7 years, and we thought that was going to be the end of it. But with the news of part 2 and part 1.5, it kind of reminded me of what Marvel was doing. You know, chapter 35 being Endgame and part 1.5 being Phase 4. That didn't happen though, and I'm actually very impressed. The pacing was bad, yeah. Some chapters dragged out way too long, but I think the story really makes up for the pacing, as the story of part 1.5 is pretty amazing. First of all, these storylines are getting more epic and grandiose over time, because I personally think this is one of their coolest stories yet. Learning about a vindictive deity trying to rebuild her entire civilization to make up what she did for 12 billion people on Venus was so awesome. I really enjoyed Vita and Saw. I was obsessed with their story and I wanted to learn as much about them as possible. Vita is a beautifully complex written character. She's my favorite. I love her. I loved learning about Saw's world, the rules she set for it, and how she did it. This game started with 3 girls going to school, and now we have all this. Like, where did we go? The bosses went from looking like this to looking like this. It's so cool. I'm not saying part 1.5 was better than part 1. Obviously not. They're going to have to do a lot to even make part 2 better than part 1. But this entire story was the coolest thing ever to me, and I do not know why. Maybe I'm paying attention to the story much more than I usually do, and that's why. But I was surprised by how in-depth they went with the lore of Saw and the lore of Phosphorus and the lore of Vita and just the lore of everyone. This got me so pumped for part 2 because this dope ass storyline was just an interlude. It was part 1.5. This is supposed to be not as important as part 2. That reminds me of the time when NF released his mixtape. It was really amazing and so good, but he was like, oh, this is just a little something to hold them over for what's next. That's the exact same mindset that I have for this. What the hell is part 2 going to be like if this was as amazing as it was? I guess I'm just obsessed with the well-written characters. I'm impressed with how grand they're making these storylines. The lore is really good. The transformations were incredible. Garda Fuhua is amazing, and I will get her. And I'm really looking forward to part 2 now. More than I have been, because I know that at least the story content of part 2 is going to be good. Again, the pacing, it was really bad in this part. We'll see what happens.